say goodbye to Trap Dust Shoot, because Royal Tribute's at 3. Myself included, I'm not sure why not many of us thought Gravekeepers would ever be viable in Edison format, besides maybe thrown in with the Flame Veil cards, some Spies, and, with the Rekindlings and all that stuff, and some Caius. But what about just straight Gravekeepers in a meta that loves removing things from play, like Raioh, like Mizuki, or targets the graveyard, like Debris Dragon? Why don't we just run some cards, or one card specifically, that doesn't let you do that stuff? It's called Necro Valley, and why don't we play a card called Royal Tribute that, if you control Necro Valley, discards all monsters in both players' hands? This card is insane. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Masterclass. My name's Anthony Pascariello. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks for all the support that I've received so far from everybody. I'm very happy with how this series has been going, and today I wanted to try something that I haven't tried yet, and that's coming up with my own deck and trying it, as opposed to going down the Edison format list of popular decks and decks that I like. I wanted to try something completely different that's very far under the radar, and I think this is a sleeper deck. We haven't covered any sleeper decks yet. So, without further ado, let's jump into this deck, right? Gravekeepers. What do? They don't let you access the graveyard, really. Gravekeepers are almost an anti-meta deck. They're not 100% anti-meta. They just kind of stick to their own group and have a lot of really, really good support and cards that just really hold their own. Let's start with the monsters. Gravekeeper Spy. When it's flipped, you special summon a Gravekeeper monster from your deck with 1500 or less attack. Now, this has 2000 defense. This is a wall versus most decks. In a format that is run by Caius, you need to be a little bit careful about Spies being set and Raiohs if they go turn 1. But there are a lot of things in this deck that will help you overcome those kinds of obstacles, and we will get there shortly. This is a huge part of the deck. It's going to let you access almost any monster in this deck, and it's going to provide a nice wall for you to prevent your opponent from just going for damage very quickly. It can let you special summon this guy, Gravekeeper's Descendant, that says you contribute one other face-up Gravekeeper's monster to target one card your opponent controls, destroy that target. Could be a back row, could be a monster. This is a very, very good card, and if you get Spy's effect off, it is a +1 when another monster is special summoned, and then using this to get rid of one of their cards is a nice 1-for-1. It's just very plus generating. This is a very good card, and normally I don't do this, but I just want to go over to Necro Valley before I keep going with the monsters, because Necro Valley is the heart of this deck, and with it makes every card so much better, and I just want to go over what it does. It's a field spell that says all Gravekeeper's monsters gain 500 attack and defense. Now, Gravekeeper Spy already has 2000 defense, so it going up to 25 makes it very, very difficult for opponents to have answers right off the rip to it. 1700 attack is now respectable if you want to attack with it. Normally, it stays in defense mode. All your other monsters now are turning into problems, right? It's like Solidarity with gadgets. You just have any attack boost. Doesn't seem like a very strong mechanic, but when it's on the field and your opponent looks at it in the face, you realize that it is a pretty good mechanic. It is a pretty nice thing to have in your corner. So a 2000 attack, 1700 defense Gravekeeper's Descendant is now looking so much better as, 2004 times his game, so you're really applying pressure quickly with the attack and defense boost of Necro Valley. Also, what this card does, cards in the graveyard cannot be banished. Like Raioh, like Mizuki, any meta card you could think of. Let's go through. Let's just look. This is the first place deck list. Mizuki, Book of Life, can't use them. The cards in the graveyard cannot be banished. I want to go over how important that is, but I want to pair it with its other effect before I state how good that is. Negate any card effect that would move a card in the graveyard to a different place. Negate any card effect that would move a card in the graveyard to a different place. Now, that doesn't affect Treeborn Frog, and cards of the such that bring themselves back out, like Plague Spreader Zombie and stuff. But cards that target other cards, like Call of the Haunted, if Monster Reborn was a card, you wouldn't be able to use that. These two effects, cards in the graveyard cannot be banished, negate any card effect that would move a card in the graveyard to a different place. I just want to quickly go over some of these top deck lists and see how it's affecting them. Mizuki, can't use it, can't remove it from play. Zombie Master, can't target monsters in the graveyard. Book of Life, can't remove monsters from play, that's the second effect and it's mandatory. These cards can't be used now. Chaos Sorcerer, can't remove monsters from play to special summon it. Dark Arm Dragon, can't remove monsters from play to use its effect. That's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards out of 40 that you can't use just in the zombie deck. And I see this deck gaining a lot of popularity. To the Frog deck, it doesn't hit the Frog deck super hard. Now, it does hurt Mally a little bit, not the end of the world, but this is probably the biggest threat that Gravekeepers are going to face, mostly because of the Monarchs, so I decided to side very hard for them with Deck Devastation Virus, although if you get a Treeborn in the graveyard, if your opponent does, it's going to be a little bit of a problem, but Mask of Restrict, neither play or contribute cards. That's half the battle, at least, right, against the tributes. And the other half is what? The Miracle Fusions. They can't remove cards from play from the graveyard. They have to do everything from the field. Not impossible, but it is going to give them a little bit of a problem. Lightsworns, can't target cards in the graveyard. Lumina's not a huge aspect of Lightsworn in this format, so again, Lightsworns and Chaos Sorcerer. Those are your two. I don't think this deck is super crazy anyway, if I'm going to be honest with you. We haven't gone over Lightsworn yet, but I am working on a video for it, and I look at a build like this, and I get, besides the cool value engine that the side deck goes into, this is just a very interesting Lightsworn build to me. I believe this is, where's the other one? Yeah, the same build, and I don't understand how Lightsworn is doing what it's doing in this format, if I'm being completely honest, even with the text cards in there like Trag, Caius, Trooper, Chaos Sorcerer, DD Crow. I think all those cards are cool, but I'm having a hard time understanding how this deck is doing as well as it's doing. But I digress. Here, another heart of the deck, Debris Dragon. You're going to have to start relying on other stuff, and I'm not saying Debris Dragon is, it's a 5% of this deck, right? It's not that big of a deal as opposed to all the other stuff in here that makes it work. But Debris Dragon with your boy down here, Drill Warrior, is a very good combo, and people will spam that, and now they can't. And for any Blackwing or Value Turbo player, you can't remove cards from play from the graveyard. Blizzard can't even target monsters in the graveyard to special summon them, so with Necro Valley, this deck is pretty much shut down. Now, aside from what it's doing to all those decks, and that's not something I normally go into, this deck helps itself very much besides hurting your opponent, right? The boost, 500 attack and defense, that's a nice bonus to what it's doing to your opponent, but it's the other cards in the deck that help themselves, and that kind of balances. Hurting your opponent, helping yourself, you make a very good consistent deck. Only thing is, a little light on monsters. I didn't want to try to throw excess monsters in here that I didn't think fit, but I think it's okay, and I'm going to try to explain why. We're going to continue with the monsters. This is going to be a 2-hour video. Gravekeeper's Guard, when it's flipped, target one monster your opponent controls, return that target to the hand. Nice little tech card. You can get it with Spy. You could set it, make them think it's a Spy if they know where you're playing, and return something back, especially if they're synchroing and trying to get over your high defense Wally monsters like Spies. Gravekeeper's Assailant. I love this card. When this card declares an attack while Necro Valley is on the field, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Change that target's battle position. That is huge, and with the boost, 2,000 attack, 2,000 defense. This is a respectable attacker that is going to be able to get over monsters that are bigger than it. This is going to take their defense monsters, turn them into attack, and turn that into a lot of battle damage. And this card is really going to see a lot of play in these upcoming games, I hope. And Finally, for the Gravekeeper monsters, we have Gravekeepers Commandant. You can discard this card to the graveyard, add 1 Necro Valley from your deck to your hand. Not only is this a 1600, 1500 line monster that will become 2100 and 2000, but it is a terraforming. You can discard it, you can get Necro Valley to your hand. Like we said, this is really the heart of the deck, so having this on the field is amazing. And we threw a Morphing Jar in there. When this is flipped, both players discard as many cards as possible from their hands, and then you draw 5 cards. I thought this would be a nice little throw-in card to help you get some more combos off. And by that, I mean, of course, getting to Royal Tribute. Now this card says, if you control Necro Valley, both players discard any monsters in their hands. This is the strongest kind of trap dust shoot. This is at 3 in this format. You go first with this. They have a handful of monsters, and you now have Necro Valley on the field. Their monsters are gone. They can't access them in the graveyard except for special cases. Those 2 cards by themselves, Necro Valley and Royal Tribute, will end games, and that is turn 1, crippling your opponent. Insanely strong combo. Pair that with Gravekeeper's Steel. Target 2 Gravekeeper monsters in your graveyard. Add those targets to your hand. Can't be negated by the effect of Necro Valley. You didn't open Necro Valley, but you open this. There's 1. It's mandatory. You need 2. Once you have 1, all you need is 1 more monster, and then you're recycling your cards, and you're getting a +1. So this is why I'm not so afraid of running only 13 monsters, because you are going to get more access to them with this card. And with Morphing Jar, if you're able to get it off with some protection, you set it, you protect it, you flip it after you set your entire hand, then you flip it, draw a bunch of cards, they draw a bunch of cards, hopefully you draw Royal Tribute, get all the monsters out of their hand. Now you're at a huge advantage. This card is almost really just why I want to run this deck, if I'm being honest. I think when people see this, you're hopeless. I mean, unless you have all spells and traps in your hand or rotas and stuff, this card is just unbelievably good, and I didn't realize until right before this video that it was at 3. I thought it was at 2, and then I realized it was at 3, and I put a 3rd one there. I took a deck Devi out. I had a main deck Devi, which I thought was good. MST, Pop a Spell or Trap, Allure Darkness, all these monsters, except for our little Earth friends down here, are all dark. So you get some draw power, draw 2, and banish a dark monster. If you don't have one, you discard your entire hand. You don't play it unless you have a dark monster or unless you're in complete desperation. Necro Valley, the Heart, we went over. Upstart Goblin, they gain 1,000 life points. You draw a card. Love this card. Now you're playing 37, so 13 out of 37. You know, you're playing like 35%, 34 and some change, something like that, I think, monster-wise. So that's not awful. 3 Book of Moon. Target a face-up monster on the field, change the target to face-down defense position. This is going to help if you flip up one of your spies and you bring out a monster, then they summon a monster and try to attack over this. You could book your own spy, then they attack into it, you get the effect. This is going to help you book your opponent's monsters that are trying to do quirky things. This is a very, very good card in this deck. I'm really excited to play 3 Book of Moon. Actually, I haven't done it in like any Edison format deck. Solemn Judgment, you already know, pay half, negate anything but a monster effect. Mirror Force, if they attack, destroy all opponents' attack position monsters. Bottomless, 1,500 or more attack summoned, destroy that monster, or special summon, destroy it, banish it. Starlight Road, 2 in this deck because we're playing so many back rows, and we even want to spam a little bit with the spies and put monsters on the field and attack into Mirror Forces and stuff like that and go into Torrential Tributes. We want protection. We don't want to get Heavy Stormed. Yes, this is going to get Raioh. Yes, it's going to get MST, Dust Tornado. That's why we play 3 copies and 3 Commandant to search it. But Starlight Road when a card or effect is activated, that will destroy 2 or more cards on the field. Negate the effect, and if you do special summon a Stardust Dragon, I love this card. Some people play none. A lot of people that are topping these events play none, but I think this deck can definitely handle 2. Maybe you could change that for 1 and something else. It's your preference, but I like trap-heavy decks that plays 2 Starlight Road. Royal Oppression. This deck can also play Royal Oppression. Each player can pay 800 life points to negate the special summon of a monster and or effect that special summons a monster and destroy those cards. Now, if they attack into a Gravekeeper spy and it flips face up, they cannot negate it with Royal Oppression because it is activating in damage step. So most of the time, you are going to get your spy's effect off. It is really not going to conflict with Royal Oppression. Royal Oppression in this deck is just very good, as they can't target the graveyard, they can't remove cards from play, and they can't special summon, and you're protecting these cards hopefully from Heavy Storm with Starlight Road. If they have MST, they have MST, but this is very anti-meta-esque with these cards that are just shutting down your opponent's card effects. Now, I do want to make one thing very clear. Yes, I'm wearing different clothes. I'm recording this the next day. I learned this ruling today, and it is vital that I let everybody know, because you will be very disappointed if this happens to you the same way I just was. If you have Royal Oppression face up in a Starlight Road set, and your opponent activates Heavy Storm to destroy all the spell and trap cards on the field, my assumption, and I disagree with rulings sometimes, and this is one that I will fight to the death about. I think this is very incorrect, but this is the way that it stands. If you activate Starlight Road, they can pay 800 with your face-up Royal Oppression to negate it, even though Starlight Road says you can special once Stardust Dragon from your extra deck. It does not say negate the effect, and if you do destroy that card, then special summon one Stardust Dragon from your extra deck. It says then you can special. Does not mean it's mandatory. Royal Oppression does not care about that. If there is a part of a card effect that includes special summoning, because it is unknown if you're going to special summon or not, your opponent can use your oppression against your own Starlight Road. That is a horrendous ruling, but that's the way it is, and it is very important. It almost makes me want to just not play this deck the way that it is, but I'm still going to try it out for everybody like this. Dust Tornado, target spell or trap card your opponent controls, destroy it, then you could set a spell or trap card from your hand. This is basically another MST, except you have to set it. Notice we're not playing Heavy Storm in this deck. I realize that with the gadget deck, with any, I mean, Book of Moons are basically traps, right? And with Upstart, we're playing like 37. So 37 with 14 traps, that is an awful lot. And I noticed in the gadget deck that having Heavy Storm in the hand when you're playing a trap-heavy deck isn't very good. You can play it if you want. You could side it if you want. I don't have it in here at all, and I think it's okay, which is kind of crazy to say, but I think it's okay. And finally, Deep Prison. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, target the attacking monster, banish that target. This is just some protection for your monsters, and you have a lot of it. So, this is the main deck. The side deck I don't like to get into too much. I think between Mask of Restrict, Royal Oppression, and Necro Valley, any Frog or Hero Frog variant should really be shut down so long. I mean, you know, you're always going to get True Nated, Cold Waved, MST Dusted, Wing Blasted, Raigeki Braked. So long as they don't draw their outs to those cards, you should be okay, and even if they do, you should still be okay. That's why we're playing 3, because like I said, that deck is a big threat to this deck in the form of Kai's, in the form of Ryza slowing your stuff down, then putting a Necro Valley on top of your deck. Sometimes you just do not want to draw that for your turn. The side deck, I don't normally go over too much, typical side deck stuff. Cyber Dragon, really for machine decks. You special summon it, and then send all their machines in Cyber Dragon to the graveyard to special summon Chimera Tech. GB Hunter, cards on the field can't be returned to the deck. That means all the attacking Gladiator Beast monsters, which could start to prove to be troublesome with Murmillo popping your monsters, Bestiari popping Necro Valley or a back row, and then making Gyzarus and popping Necro Valley and a monster and stuff. Nobleman of Crossout for the Raikos, right? Target one face-down monster on the field, destroy that target, and if you do, banish it then. If it was a flip effect monster, each player reveals their main deck, then banishes all cards from it with that monster's name. You just have to make sure you don't hit an opponent's spy. If you know they're not playing it, then you should be good to go on their Raikos and their other face-down monsters. And Deck Devastation Virus, I really like a lot, because Necro Valley is going to give your monsters a nice boost. You're going to have 3 Descendant that are at 2,000. You're going to have 2 Assailants that are at 2,000. So you are going to have 5 monsters that qualify to be tributed by Deck Devi that says tribute a dark monster with 2,000 or more attack. Look at your opponent's hand, all monsters they control, and all cards they draw until the end of their 3rd turn after this card's activation, and destroy all those monsters with 1,500 or less attack. That is going to hurt frogs an awful lot. A lot of stuff for frogs. I mean, 33% of the side deck is to stop frogs, realistically. This hurts a lot of other stuff too. This hurts zombies, as most of their zombies all are smaller stuff in this deck. Really has a pretty good advantage against that deck too. Value Turbo, this doesn't really help too much. This only helps against certain matchups, but I still like it a lot. I think in the quick draw matchup, the plan matchup, it's very good as well. In Light Imprisoning Mirror, for our favorite Light Sworns, negate all light monster effects activated on the field or in the graveyard. This will shut that deck down. Besides cards like Card Trooper and stuff, but them not being able to summon Lila and pop a card on the field because this is active really puts you in a nice spot. I think that this shuts that deck down pretty well. So, without further ado, let's get into some games. Alright, good luck, have fun. Now, I want to preface this match with this. I've played a handful of matches now, probably 7 or 8, and all of which have been awful. This is one of the best hands you could possibly draw. And you just need to draw all these cards and go first and not draw monsters with these cards. Like this scenario, if my opponent has... Alright, that's exactly what I was going to say. In this scenario, my opponent has a handful of monsters, you win. But in so many other scenarios versus a bunch of other decks, this deck just is having a very hard time getting there. And I noticed the deck was running pretty inconsistently, especially with this weird combo right here. So I wanted to make a few changes, so I took out one Oppression in one Book of Mood and replaced them with one-dimensional Prison and one Torrential Tribute. And what you're about to see in these games is this newly revised deck list. So here it is. Enjoy. Alright, good luck, have fun. We need some footage of this deck losing, although I don't want to admit it. We've probably only won like 40 to 50% of the time, and I want to show why this deck underperforms, because all you've seen so far is it overperforming. Now this is a hand. This is an underachieving hand right here. I mean, you got a bunch of back rows with no protection, you got a monster that does nothing, and you have a Royal Tribute that we can't use. It's all about getting the pieces. They set a monster and pass, they probably have a handful of monsters. Another Tribute that does nothing, and another Dark Monster that is virtually doing very little. The second Tribute is pretty awful. Really no need to summon an attack into Raioh. It could be a bunch of different stuff. No need to assume it's Raioh. So why assume it's Raioh? It could be a Treeborn Frog, it could be a Dandelion. I don't need to commit anything to the board and have him do things to my monsters. Yeah, so that's all. Back row and pass. Let's just keep doing nothing here. Oh, right on time. Right on time for them to have set the MST. Could have summoned the Descendant first. See if they want to do anything to that, and we could book it if they have Bottomless or something like that. Alright, if they have Heavy Storm, we're in a heaping load of trouble now. Another problem with this deck. We got a Diva. We got a lot of good spell cards. Mind Control, Foolish, Book, Brain. Raioh gets that Necro Valley right off the field. There's a Plague. There's a... Okay. So here... Alright, good. This is what we want. This is what we want to see. My opponent has a nice Raioh set. Doesn't flip it into the back row that maybe they think is torrential. Now they know we're playing this card. They're going to start doing everything they can. And I'm going to try to shut all those cards down. They have a Mind Control, Brain Control, Book of Life, and I don't remember the other card. That's not good at all. But it was good, and I remember that. Great top deck for us. Okay, no worries on that. Yeah, I could have tributed, but the odds of him having that Treg are pretty slim to me, so I'm not super devoted to using that tribute. I'm still not devoted to using this tribute, to be honest. He's in a deep prison us, but I'm actually going to book. This is our only monster, so let's see one more time. He knows we have it, so might as well see if we can get that last monster. Foolish Burial, that was the last card, and he drew a Lightning Vortex. Brain Mind, Foolish Vortex. Foolish does virtually nothing, which is great. Nothing doing there. Great draw. Now I could set the Spy, but then he's in a mind control, right? We're gonna lose it. He could mind control the Spy, brain control the Descendant, and then, well, he can't tribute the Spy because it's mind control, so he has to get it flipped up first. I don't think he's going to be able to do that because you can't tribute the monster. But once this is flipped, if he gets a mind, or if I can't Starlight Road, remember the ruling because we have oppression. Yeah, I don't want to put that on the field just yet. I'm just going to let him use all his resources on this, and because I feel like he's going to kind of have to do that at some point. Maybe drew a Caius. It's a great card to draw. Gonna attack for 2,000, no problem. And I think this is gonna get Caius. Sure is. Alright, Brain is gone. He has Mind Control, Lightning Vortex, Foolish Burial. Okay. Gonna let him mind control this. Weird dueling book glitch where when you mind control a monster, you just can't see what it is. I'm gonna pay 8 on that. Might have an MST. Nope, just lets it go. So they drew a Chaos Sorcerer, they go right into it. And they are just letting us use this oppression right now, which is pretty good. They're going to oppress this Spy, so I'm going to set guard. We know they have Lightning Vortex and Foolish Burial. They're never going to attack into this. Never, never, never. But they're going to get this off the field. If they waited one more turn, they would have had a lot more to do. And now this is actually going to be okay because they have that Lightning Vortex. Maybe set, maybe in their hand still. But if we spam the board and they Vortex, we could Starlight Road, and that'll pretty much end the game. Yeah, this is looking pretty good for us right now. I'm going to get a Descendant. I assume they're going to use that effect. I could put the Spy back in my hand. That's not bad. Nothing wrong with that. Alright, he's in a Torrential, and this is a good time to road, I think. So we make him get the oppression off the field. And this is a rare occasion where that's actually going to work. So, alright, we're playing the zombie deck. Necro Valley, you have a humongous advantage against the zombie deck, but we still see that it's not 100% guaranteed when they have tech cards like Lila. Caius is a great card. A lot of stuff that they can do that still hurts this deck. A lot of things that they can do. Now, what do we want to do back to them? Deck Heavy hurts that deck. Alright, just going to keep it simple. Not a bad hand. You're always looking for Tribute, right? I mean, that's the bread and butter of this deck. You always want Royal Tribute, but you're not always going to have it. And the biggest question is, can this deck hang if you don't have Royal Tribute turn 1 or 2 every game? So this is where it really comes down to it. Could have sided in Snowman Eaters. I mean, we have the Commandant, right? So let's try to run over. It could just be a Raioh. Might just pop the Necro Valley. No, Goblin Zombie. That's fine. Gets a turtle. Doesn't want the turtle. Gets another Goblin Zombie. I don't have to set this. I'm going to do the... Remember, the pro tip, think about setting that second back row. We already have enough for Starlight Road because Heavy Storm will kill the Necro Valley, but really think about... Telegraph to your opponent. Pretend that you're afraid of Heavy Storm. Take a while. Look at that. He goes to standby phase. He's anticipating a Dust Shoot. We don't have Dust Shoot. He doesn't have a back row. Now we could overextend with our monsters a little bit. We normal summon Descendant. We attack with Descendant. If he brings out something that we want to attack over with Assailant and do damage with, we can. If we want to pop it with Descendant after, we can do that. We could leave 2 monsters on the field. So that if he Lightning Vortexes, we don't have to be super worried about that. It gets a Plague Spreader Zombie, so it has no... It's still just 7 cards in his hand. And I really don't want to attack with this, because if it scores, we're going to have to deal with a 2000 monster. And even though we have a Steel and a 2100 beater in the hand, I don't think it's necessary to play like that. I'm just going to pass. I'm going to try to get this Lightning Vortex to come out, because he wouldn't do it just for an Assailant, right? That's minus. We're just playing a defensive game. I didn't set MST. I didn't think it was necessary. Another Assailant. It's pretty good. And now we're not looking too bad. Same play. Not going to use Descendant's effect. We can go into Mirror Force. They have Deep Prison. They have Deep Prison. There's just the Plague Spreader Zombie. Now we might see a 2400 Trag. That we can pop with Descendant. That's not the end of the world. There it is. No problem. Yeah, we're going to get that off the board before it becomes 3000. Yeah, we could even put another Assailant on the field, try to go into Torrential. We could play very aggressively. Stardust will protect this nicely, although it makes very little sense to put monsters like that on the field. If he has Brain Control, there's not a whole lot we can do. But I don't think he has Vortex, right? Because he would have played it unless he wanted to drop Trag first. We do have the Steel, though. We can't afford to play aggressively, but it's kind of pointless, right? We want to use this for Necro Valley. It's a little pointless. We can set it. I'm going to summon. I'm going to play kind of weird right now. There's no... This is kind of a playing with Starlight Road kind of play. But I feel like maybe they have Lightning Vortex and they just didn't want to use it before using Trag. I don't think they have anything to stop a Starlight Road. Alright, so I think we're going to play one more game because this is not a super good example of what this deck is like, only because we're playing against zombies and we have a really good matchup against zombies. So, alright, good luck, have fun. This person is known as an expert. They have a little expert thing next to them, so there's no way we could mess up any rulings in their presence, which is nice. I hope. Alright, looking like a Lightsworn deck. Necro Valley not going to hurt this deck too much, except for Lumina, but by the time they put it on the field, just a monster. Yeah, they have no targets in there, so they can't Lumina yet. Oh, interesting morphing draw. Interesting morphing draw. That's what I wanted to say, but I kind of messed up my words. Maybe that's a Raioh. Making the read, playing off a Raioh. That's a hamster. Oop. That deck plays hamster. That's a problem. That is a problem. And I didn't play Necro Valley. Oh, what a mess. What a mess. I didn't want to play Necro Valley attacking the Raioh and have them pop the Necro Valley. That's awful. Wow, that's pretty awful. Alright, let's play like a crazy person then and put all of our reasons. Alright, so we messed up, right? A little bit. Maybe we messed up. Maybe they have MST set. So now, in order to compensate for that, we have to... Alright, they don't have MST set. Nice wolf. Oh, nice Necro. Alright, to compensate, now we have to resolve a Morphing Jar and win the game. And Wolf special summons itself, not negated by Necro Valley. Alright, looking bad, looking bad. Take our 800 total. Trag, Air, and Recharge. I guess we just gotta hope they don't have a Celestia in hand, right? It's really all we could do. See if we can dig ourselves out of this mess that we put ourselves in just from them having a ye old hamster. But if I played Necro Valley, summon Assailant, and attack the hamster, and they just bring out Raioh, they still flip Raioh. It's a book. That's fine. Yeah, if they pop this Morphing Jar, I think that might be it for us. That might be it for us. What if they attack without flipping? Or what if they flip, hit Necro Valley or the back row? Alright, that's great. Yeah, we're going to chain book. That's fine. Yeah, you can flip Raioh. I think he's not going to pop the monster. Summons Garoth. Flips the Raioh. Does pop the Necro Valley. We're in business right now. Mills 3 with Lila, 2 with Garoth, doesn't attack, hits a Raioh and a Wolf, can't special summon the Wolf but draws 2 cards. Oh yeah, that's Raioh's effect, so yeah, that came off a Raioh. Gareth got to draw 2. Alright. Still awful. No, now people are in here watching this massacre. This is a mess. But he might mill himself out. That'd be pretty good, right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 1, 2, draws a card. Alright, we just have to get out 1 turn, which I don't think is possible. Can we stall for 1 turn against Lightsworn? We definitely don't deserve to win this game at all. Yep. And he's going for it right now. He's going for it. I don't think it's enough. I'll take the 17. I'll take... Oh, I can't take the 1850. That's silly. Are we going to win this game? That's insane. We're going to take 1300 and win? Unless he tributes for Celestia. Oh, we literally won. That is insane. Alright. They cold waved? Too many wolves. Too many wolves. Alright, there's hope. There's hope for Gravekeepers. Believe that. There is hope for this deck. Even when you play like a crazy person. All because of this smiling face right here. And we're going second. Are we crazy enough to put a Nobleman of Cross out in? We're going second. I'm going to do it. They play a lot of monsters. I don't care. We're playing it this way. I was like, people coming in here, they're going to see this whole thing transpiring in a disgusting way. And now they're going to run and tell all their friends, dude, I just saw this Gravekeeper player go sick against Lightsworn. But that's not the case. That's not the case. This is insane. That's all the hype right there. That's just Lightsworn shooting themselves in the foot when they go a little too fast. Trooper, Gareth, recharge. We want all the recharges in there. That's what we always want. This is a great hand. I wanted the Morphing Jar stuff, but now I kind of wanted Descendant Necro Valley stuff. If they have MST, we're very, very tight. But I think the better play is to normal summon this. I think we got to get Aaron off the field. If they have Honest, they have... Nah, we're not going to see that Honest. We're not going to see that Honest. Oh, this gets... it doesn't get a token, but I like to put it on there anyway. Let's get that Honest out of there. The game winner, sometimes... You gotta do what you gotta do with them. 2 wolves, a Lumina, and a Trag. He's gonna book this. He has nothing. He drew horrendously. Double wolf, that's a problem with Lightsworn, right? There's a Lila. That's fine. Hits the wrong one. That's just... everything is just going our way right now. Hopefully they mill awfully. Recharge again, that's great. Rhoda's great. But Wolf's gonna get us. Couldn't be too good, right? The lone wolf, man. Oh my goodness. How things just keep going our way somehow. This is insanity. That is how you make an expert quit. Good game. But I want to know if they didn't draw heavy what we would have drawn. Dude, I can't even draw. Are you crazy? We gotta wait 75 seconds to see what we would have drawn? Nightmare would have done nothing. Necro Valley, nothing. And then Commandant would have got the bang out, but it would have been pretty late. Alright. So just a few closing statements, because I really feel like I didn't truly convey how this deck runs 100%. Yeah, we saw some success with Royal Tribute. Yes, we saw some extreme luck sacking and winning in scenarios where our opponent drew cards that we had the perfect answer to and stuff. But I'd rather not walk away from this video and have anyone who watches this video walk away thinking that Gravekeepers are going to be a really damaging part to Edison format, because I feel like this is going to be one of those decks where you're probably just going to ruin a couple people's days by Royal Tributing them, winning the rock, paper, scissors, going first and Royal Tributing. But in the long run, it's probably not going to top anything unless you get extremely lucky all day. And even that is a really big if. So I want to give this deck, and I haven't rated all the decks, but I wouldn't really put this deck too high up on the tier list. There are probably 20 decks ahead of this that are better in Edison format, maybe 25, and it's probably a 4.5 out of 10, maybe a 5 out of 10. Not awful. Could be better. Maybe could work on the build a little bit more. Overall, after a few games with this deck, I realized that I wasn't having a lot of fun with it, and just instead of making my opponent angry with Royal Tributing, I was myself kind of just getting angry with the lack of good draws and synergy with the deck. So a little unhappy with it, but I still had all the footage and went over the profile and everything. I didn't want to leave it out because I thought it could be a nice little curveball in the Edison Masterclass series. But I hope that you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. We're so close to 500 subs, and that means a lot to me, so thank you for all the support. Good luck, and we'll see you in the next one.